Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. Welcome to another episode of Dollar Store Saturday, where I use dollar store products to make my crafts. I am starting out using these tumbling tower blocks. I get these at my Dollarama store, which is a Canadian dollar store, and they're a little bit larger than the tumbling tower blocks, but if that's what you've got, you go ahead and use those. I'm going to take a bunch of them and make a square. So I'm going to just glue them together end to end with some hot glue and make sure that I get a nice even square. I also want to make sure that I'm taking off any extra glue because when I paint it, I don't want the glue to be showing through. To create a solid bottom, I'm using one of these planks that you can get at the Dollar Tree. I believe they come 5 in a pack for $1, and these are the square ones. I'm just putting some hot glue around the edge, and then I'm going to glue it in place right on top of the tower blocks. Now I'm going to take 4 more of these blocks and glue them together end to end as well. And I'm using my Dollar Tree straight edge to make sure that they're really good and straight. I'm going to repeat this 4 times. I've got this birdhouse that I picked up at Dollarama, and I just love the brown wood roof and the white body. That combination together I think is just really stunning. What I'm doing here is cutting off some pieces of square dowel that I'm going to glue to the bottom of the birdhouse. I just want that bottom layer to be a little bit thicker so it looks more substantial. These are super easy dowels to cut with my miter shears. I have those miter shears listed down in my description box if you're interested. I cannot live without them. Well, I guess I could live without them, but I definitely can't craft without them. Now I'm going to glue the legs of the lantern on, and those are the 4 tumbling tower blocks that I glued together in a row. I'm going to use quite a bit of hot glue for this because I want to make sure that it's very sturdy. I'm going to then glue the one piece onto the plank from the Dollar Tree, but I do need to bend it in just a little bit, as you can see me doing here, because the bottom of the birdhouse is smaller than my base. The legs are fully dry, so now I'm going to apply another generous amount of hot glue and set the birdhouse right on top. And this is going to be really secure. You would think that with hot glue it wouldn't be, but when you're gluing wood to wood, it really does have a nice secure hold. I've left the lantern alone for a few minutes to make sure that the glue is nice and hardened up. And now I'm going to work on the bottom. I also want the bottom part to look a little bit thicker. So I'm going to be using these garden stakes that I also pick up at Dollarama. They're a little bit thicker than popsicle sticks or craft sticks, but they're actually much softer wood, so they're easier to work with. Using some blocks from the Dollar Tree. These are a little bit larger than the small square ones that are the natural color. And I'm just going to use hot glue to glue them in place all the way around. I'm using my white DIY chalk paint to give the birdhouse and the lantern a couple of coats. I'm going to stop at the base though. I'm not going to go all the way down because I do want the base to be a different color. So now I'm going to work on the base of the lantern. I did my best to color match the roof because I just adore that brown color. I used dark brown, some orange and yellow acrylic paints, a little bit of white, and now I'm going to just add some water to it to water it down and make it more of a stain. And I think I matched the color pretty spot on, but you'll have to tell me what you think when you see the whole thing put together. I'm going to work on the bottom of the base. I'm also going to do the inside of it as well. So sorry that this is out of frame a little bit, but I am painting the base of the birdhouse, including that little extra piece of wood that I added on. And I really love how this is turning out. To add a little bit of detail and to also cover up a couple of little chips out of the birdhouse, I'm going to just add a couple rows of this regular jute twine, Dollar Tree twine, whatever you want, whatever you've got on hand, that's what you can use. So I'm just going to glue it at the back and then wrap it around twice. If you've been watching and following my channel, you'll know that I am not a frilly, lacy, or frou-frou person. I'm not even into bows so much. But I decided to try my hand at a little twine flower for this birdhouse. So I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. So you'll have to let me know what you think of this and if you'd like to see me do more of this kind of craft. I just did two of those little bunches and now I'm just going to tie them off in the center and then fluff out the twine loops. I cut off all of the extra strings that were hanging and now I'm just going to hot glue it right into the corner of the birdhouse. I really think this turned out cute. I actually like it. For a finishing touch, I grabbed a little tiny bead that I had and glued that in the center. I really like how this turned out. I think it's just enough of a detail to make it look cute, but not cutesy. So you'll have to let me know what you think. Today, I am being joined by Deneen over at Design by D9. She's on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast, and we are definitely opposite styles. We are taking three of the same items, a birdhouse, a frame, and a tray, and we are going to do it in our own styles. As you can see by her channel here, Deneen does a lot of modern glam, glitzy, bling, pinks and silvers and golds, absolutely gorgeous crafts. I'm, of course, am doing my farmhouse designs, which I totally love as well. I would love for you to go down to the description box and click on Deneen's video, go see what she's created with those three items, and also hit that red subscribe button, help her channel grow. DIY number two is using this frame that came in a 2-pack from Dollarama. I'm going to take off the hanger on the back and I'm also going to remove the cardboard insert because I don't need that. I'm going to create a wood backing for this frame using these paint stir sticks. I bought these off of Amazon, and if I can find the link, I'll put it down in the description box for you. I'm just going to measure off the length that I need, and then again, I'm going to be using my miter shears to trim these down. Now, these painter sticks are quite a bit thicker than all of the other ones, so I have a strategy. I pinch and squeeze as hard as I can, and then I flip it around and I just keep following that same crease on either side, go through it 4 or 5 times, and then on the last one, I can usually just snap that piece off as you see me doing here. Now I'm just going to be painting the frame white. I'm going to give it a couple of coats of DIY chalk paint. I've cut out all my planks and now I'm just going to go ahead and glue them in. I'm just going to glue the last two on each end, and then I'm going to apply a generous amount of glue just on the boards themselves and in between the frame, just to make sure that there's a nice strong hold. I didn't want a lot of hot glue seeping through to the front of this because I didn't want to have to clean it up. So I thought this might be a good idea to try it this way. I've also got these little tiny square dowels, and I'm going to use those as braces all the way around the frame as well. To add some extra support, I'm just hot gluing a couple more painter sticks right on the back. Since I loved this brown color that I made for the birdhouse, I decided to use it for the sticks here as well. It was turning out okay. I think I didn't add enough water, so it ended up being more like a paint rather than a stain, but I still liked it against the white. Here's where I went wrong. I decided to use the gel stain on the white part of the frame to make it look like wood. And those two colors, the beige that I have on the paint sticks and the gel walnut stain on the frame, they did not go together. I really didn't like the look of it. So I've continued working on the frame because I was kind of committed to it already. And I really like the texture of it when you're using a really rough brush like this, and you can get the stain to look just like wood. So you'll have to let me know if you like this color combination or not, but I decided to take some white and sort of dry brush, but a little bit heavier than a dry brush, and add some white to it. The white actually ended up turning out a little bit gray, which I also didn't like. So then I started to go on top of it a little bit more with the brush and the gel stain, and that turned out pretty good. So check out these little adorable barrels. They came 3 in a pack for $1.25 at another local dollar store, and they are just so cute. I could not pass them up. When I saw them, the first thing I thought of was riser feet or tray feet. So that's what I'm going to do with these guys. I'm going to make these be the feet of my frame turned into a tray. Now, what kind of a tray would this be if it didn't have handles? I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm putting the handles on the side of the frame rather than on the top. These handles are something I picked up from the Habitat from Humanity Restore. They were $1 a piece, and I just love them. While I was looking at this, I decided to add a little bit more dimension to the frame itself. So I'm just taking some black chalk paint, the same rough little chippy brush, and I'm just dragging it across the brown just to add more texture and more wood grain look to the frame. Of course, the tray would not be a farmhouse tray if it didn't have some type of embellishment on it. So I cut out using my Cricut Joy a couple of stencils, and I started using a product that I've never used before in my Cricut. It works absolutely amazing. This is called transparency film, and what it is a thin plastic that's very flexible. If you remember, I'm going to date myself here now, the overhead projectors, and then there was those clear pieces of plastic that the teachers used and they could write on it and then wipe it off. That's what a transparency film is. I'll show a little picture of those overheads in the corner here. And this is going to give me so many different options for creating my own stencils, because that is one of the reasons why I really got my Cricut Joy, is because I wanted to be able to create reusable stencils. So I cut out the letter D, which is for my last name, and I also cut out a Laurel sort of swag that I'm going to stencil using this little sponge brush and the clothespin tip, which is from Jamie over at Simple Roots Simple Living. It's an amazing tip. Like, look at, you can actually hold this and have full control because of a clothespin. Amazing tip. Thank you so much, Jamie. Another great tip I have for you is always have baby wipes on hand, because if you do schmutz a little bit outside the lines like I did with my stencil, you can just take a little piece of baby wipe and very gently that will come right off your project. So my last project is using this tray. You can see that I've already done a couple things to it. I'm going to take it outside and give it a couple more coats of flat white spray paint. I am not able to get into the stores to buy a new tray because in Ontario, Canada, we are on lockdown and we can't buy things that we don't necessarily need. Anyhow, I'm going to go ahead and use some black and white buffalo check wrapping paper. I'm going to cut out a circle and I'm going to Mod Podge it to the back of the tray. While I wait for the Mod Podge to dry, I'm going to work on the sign component of my tray. I designed this little Be Happy graphic, and as usual, it will be down in my description box under the free printables link to my website. So feel free to go there and check out what I've got and download whatever you like. I'm just going to go ahead and put this on some black cardstock. I had just printed this out on regular printer paper. So I wanted to give it a little bit more of a frame, and that's what the black cardstock will do. I'm going to take my paper cutter and just trim around the edges. I also printed out this yellow honeycomb just on regular printer paper, and I'm going to cut this into 2 pieces. I'm going to glue one down in one corner and one in the other corner, and then just trim off the excess. I wanted my sign to have a really firm backing, so I took one of the Dollar Tree signs and cut a piece off of it that matched the size of my Be Happy sign, and I'm just using a glue stick to glue it on. To frame out the sign and give it a nice finished edge, I'm using some nautical rope from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to glue it all the way around the edge. Using the same nautical rope, I'm going to go around the edge of the tray. Remember, this one is upside down, so there's a bit of a ridge here. And because it's a metal tray, the spray paint took okay, but not really great. So I just wanted to add some extra embellishment just to kind of cover that up. But I also think the nautical rope turned out really cute with this. And because bee skeps are usually made out of nautical rope or some kind of macrame rope when you see those in decor pieces, I thought this was the perfect addition. So I'm going to go around 3 times. I'm going to go up the side of the tray and camouflage the cut portion of the black and white buffalo plaid paper. And then I'm going to do a couple of strands to cover up the rest of the tray. Here's what the tray looks like now with all the nautical rope. You can just see a little edge of the white tray peeking out. And I'm going to now just hot glue my sign where I want it to be, making sure that it's nicely centered. I really like how this is coming together. I also want to add some greenery and maybe some florals. So I'm starting off with these ficus leaves that are also from the Dollarama. They come in these really large branches, but I'm going to trim them down into smaller pieces so I have a little bit more control about where I put them. I'm going to add these just mostly towards the bottom of this sign, and then I'm going to add some florals into it and really make it shine. I have tons of florals in my stash, and I decided to grab these black-eyed Susans because they have some white, they have a little bit of yellow, which will tie into my little Be Happy sign, and they're definitely a flower that bees like to go to because they're full of all sorts of goodies on the inside. I usually don't have a set plan when I start doing florals, but I do kind of like to make things more off kilter or off center or only 3 on one side and 4 on the other side, just to keep things more interesting and also to keep them more natural because things aren't perfect in nature. The last thing to do is to add some buffalo check charm. Of course, because I've got the paper, I have to have a bow with some buffalo check ribbon. And again, I'm not a bow person, but buffalo check is very dear to my heart, especially the black and white or gray and white. So I decided again to step out of my comfort zone and make something a little bit frilly. I'm just doing 3 simple shoestring bows. I've left one with a couple of tails. The other ones I'm just going to make very small and then just hot glue them in place. And you can see here what it looks like. Next, I'm going to take another strand of buffalo check ribbon, tie a couple knots in each end, and hot glue it onto the jute rope, which will become the hanger. If you're still with me, I want to say thanks. I really appreciate you sticking through this pretty long video. But these projects have so many small little details, I didn't want to skip anything. These are some honeycomb beads that I have. Again, they're just from Dollarama. They were in a big bunch of different types of beads, and I'm going to make a couple of little bees. So what I'm going to do is just paint the honeycomb part black. I'm also going to add a little head, which I will paint black as well. Then I'm going to put some little yellow stripes on it, and then just use a couple of chenille stems, or pipe cleaners as we call them, in white, and I'm going to create some little wings for them, bend them down because bee wings always naturally kind of hang down, especially bumblebees. And then I'll just add some little wire for their antenna, stick that into the top part of the little mini bead. I just added them onto my sign slash wreath, and I think this turned out to be really pretty. I'd like to thank Deneen for joining me today. Please make sure you go down to my description box, click on her video link and her channel link, hit that red subscribe button, and support her growing channel. If you liked what you saw, I'd love for you to give me a thumbs up. That tells YouTube that you like what you see and they promote me more, which helps my channel grow too. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new, I'd love for you to stick around. Hit that subscribe button. That black arrow will point you in the right direction. Thank you so much for watching. For all you moms out there, have a very happy Mother's Day. See you in the next one.